There's of course a range. There are short labors and fast labors, and there are things that happen in all settings. Adverse outcomes happen in all sites, good births happen in all settings, and sometimes it's not about the setting.
If we think about over the centuries how women were safely delivered at home for the most part, and now we look at this home birth as the complete opposite end, and that the safety is in the hospital. I'm not sure that we can say that, given that we continue to have such wretched outcomes, particularly amongst people of color in the United States.
I think there is, in my eyes, much more risk in the hospital because we introduce interventions. Some of them are wanted, some of them are not. But we play with, I think we're playing with fire in a lot of ways when we are inducing birth, augmenting birth, giving pain medications. You know, we're changing the natural process. And so we're running into many more unknowns, right? And those feel pretty risky to me.
In high-resource countries, what we're talking about really is that birth is very safe and that poor outcomes happen in all settings. Some of them unpreventable, some of them unexplainable, some of them explainable and preventable. But that happens in every setting. And unfortunately, what's happened right now in the modern discourse is that we don't really talk about the poor outcomes that are happening in the hospital. The near misses, the things that maybe didn't have to go that way, like interventions and the high rates of surgical birth. You know, we may not need a 30% rate of cesarean birth in order to have very good outcomes, as has been demonstrated in other countries.
Infection rates are certainly higher in hospitals, and I'm sure they're higher because we break water bags, and I'm sure they're higher because we do more exams than people would do, you know, certainly that our ancestors had, but then people probably do at home too. So I think that's something where when people get an infection in labor, I think, oof, that's something where we probably could have had a role.
There's this inherent feeling, I think, amongst most of our population that we really trust. Doctors know everything. I can't tell you how many times, you know, things go wrong and we don't know why. What was expected to be a normal, healthy, full-term baby ends up in the intensive care unit under cooling, you know, and what happened? Well, we don't know. And it did happen here with, you know, extensive monitoring, and it did happen here where we were watching your baby's heart rate in correlation to your contractions at every moment, and we have that all recorded, right? It's all here. Here's all the evidence, and we may dissect it, and we still may not know.
When people look at their births retrospectively, they see these complications such as a cord around the neck and what if, you know, I hadn't have been in the hospital. You know, the cord is around the baby's neck in a third of all births, and it generally is not a problem at all medically. If it is a problem at home as well as in the hospital, you have indications that it is a problem for that particular baby. And I think the whole thing of, you know, if I hadn't have been in the hospital, it's a hard comparison, because if you hadn't have been in the hospital, things may have well gone very different from the very beginning. So, you know, the outcome may have been very, very different. That said, the hospital needs to be there. Some people absolutely need a hospital birth. Some people absolutely need a cesarean. And, you know, I've seen what happens when they don't get the cesarean they need in time.
Twice as many black babies are going to die or be low birth weight or premature than white. 2, 3, 4 times as many black women are at risk for death or illness during pregnancy and birth than white. It is the African American women, the Native American women, who are suffering mostly for the obstetric system that we have. How is it that so many more disproportionately are affected? How is it that we have a disparity? So the way we address the disparity is we throw our hands up and we keep going in circles around, well, what could be the cause? Well, we know what the cause is. It's the institutionalized racism, it's the inherent, you know, classism, it is the sexism, it's all of those isms that are very clearly there. So it will affect all of us if we address the disparities and improve for all of us. really the bulk of these statistics are as a result of poor prenatal care or lack of access to any type of prenatal care, as well as poor postpartum care or lack of any postpartum care. That is the reason we're doing so poorly. What we see on a daily basis is women who can't get started, they can't get in. They cannot get someone to provide that care. And if they do get that care, it's not quality. It's not culturally competent. It's not respectful. It's not humanistic. The judgment and blaming, the punishing, the ostracizing, these things have an impact on the outcome.